Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Clarity and Confidence TV. I have Shannon Claire with me, and you might notice she has an adorable sidekick, which I'll let her introduce this fine young man. But Shannon is a branding photographer, and she is a coach for women in business, and she is an entrepreneur, and like many of you, she knows exactly what it's like to work while also managing a sweet little guy who needs her attention while at home. So welcome, Shannon. Tell me, what else have I missed? Tell me all about yourself, your family, and more about what you do.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Kelly. And thank you for allowing me to bring my sidekick, Chase, along today. He decided not to take his nap when he's supposed to. So here we are.
Every mom everywhere is going, yeah, I know.
Yeah, and I think it's important too that like other working moms, like this is normal. This is part of our lives now, especially with COVID. So I embrace it and I bring him along with no shame and with full confidence because that's who I am. And this is, he's my life. So he's going to show up with me. But I do have 3 other kiddos who are older. They are ranging in age from 10 to 19, actually, which is crazy to say.
Yeah. That provides for quite the variety, I'm sure.
Oh my gosh. It's like, with him, I have felt like I never had a baby before. It's like he's my first baby all over again. Because there's such an age gap. And I felt like I had no idea what I was doing. But it's like a bicycle. It all came back to me.
I was just going to say, it all came back to you probably with a lot more customized toys and trinkets and all the other baby things that you didn't have, that we didn't have, right? Because I have a almost 16-year-old. So it's changed since then.
It's insane.
So in all of this, right? In like having kids that are, 17, 18 years apart, in your entrepreneurship business, helping women step into their new identity as a branding photographer, what have you learned about your definition of true confidence?
So for me, confidence is really about being able to show up as your true, authentic self in any situation and know that you have a voice wherever you're at. It's taken me a long time to kind of come to that place in my life where I can confidently voice my opinion, voice my needs, show up unafraid to be who I truly am.
That's awesome. What do you think was a key turning point in your life that really helped you embrace that definition?
So growing up, I was always very rebellious. Well, in my teen years, early in my life, I was very much people pleaser, wanted to do, straight A's, never had a B, all that. And then there was a major shift. And in my rebellion, I grew confidence, but it wasn't really true confidence then. It was more of a way to protect myself. Like, I don't care what anybody thinks of me, kind of an attitude in a negative way. So I was going to do whatever I wanted. And then into my adult life, I was in an emotionally abusive marriage for 15 years. And it's all I knew. I got married at 18. I just thought, it was hard because marriage is supposed to be hard. That's what I've always heard growing up. I still hear that message being thrown around today. The grass isn't greener on the other side. Marriage is hard. You just have to kind of work through it. So that's the mentality I had. And once I started recognizing what I was going through as abuse, I was able to kind of separate my thoughts about what was right, what I wanted for my kids, especially. And I was able to gain the confidence to leave that marriage. And it was the hardest thing I had ever done in my life. It was terrifying because when you are in an abusive relationship, what are you being told? You're being told that you can't do anything on your own, that you'll never amount to anything. I mean, gosh, there's so many messages that women get in these relationships that are the same, you'll be nothing without me. Nobody will ever want you. Who would want you? You'll never make it on your own. Your business is going to fail. I just want to throw out as many phrases as I can, because if you're a woman listening to this and you've heard these lies and you've started to internalize them and believe them and live them out, just know, number one, you're not alone, and there is hope on the other side, and so much confidence to be gained once you are free from that abusive partner.
Yeah. I can definitely relate to much of that. I also am divorced. I've had to call up a wedding, and I've heard many of those same phrases. You would be nothing without me. I made you who you are, all the things, right? To diminish your being as a person, and I don't love this message, but I love that you're bringing up the fact that there's this message that we've been taught that marriage should be hard, because now being on the other side of it, I can actually tell you that marriage is quite easy when you're with the person that you're supposed to be with. My marriage is quite easy, and I think that surprises people because that's a message that we don't hear a lot. What was it though? Like, how did you have a wake up call? And I think that's what women are always curious. Like sometimes when you're so in it, you can't see out of it, right? So what was the moment, the turning point, the, oh my gosh, like I need to choose myself?
Yeah. So there were a couple of moments. It escalated.
Hmm.
So once I recognized it as abuse and I started standing up for myself and not, creating some boundaries, some really healthy boundaries,
Hmm.
um, things got worse. And
Hmm.
that's very typical in
Hmm.
an abusive relationship. And so I left twice, stayed with other people with my kids for a while, kept coming back. And then it finally, the last year that I was there, just escalated to the point where I was beginning to fear for my physical safety.
Hmm.
And, statistics will show that a lot of times emotionally abusive marriages will turn into physical violence as well in
Hmm.
the end. And I think the other thing actually that comes to mind is I had a major health scare with some heart problems that really, in the end, were brought on from the amount of stress that I was living under.
Hmm.
That I had to have a major procedure done on my heart, and it was 2 years of just in and out of doctors' offices and trying to get diagnosed, and really recognizing the toll that being in that relationship took on me and my body.
I'm so sorry you had to go through that.
Thank you. But you know what? Like, I would never wish for it.
Hmm.
And as a lot of people have said, though, with any struggle they've been in, it's made me who I am. I
Hmm.
have greater insight. I feel like I can help so many more women
Hmm.
because I went through it and I came out on the other side like a new woman.
Yeah. One of the things that you and I were talking about before I hit record, because you and I have, a similar story, which I haven't shared much about, but um, what lesson do you think you've learned in all of this? And, we even said sometimes these things happen in our personal lives. But I also noticed that when I was in unhealthy relationships in my personal life, I thought I had it together in my business, but that really wasn't true. It was just manifesting differently in my career. I wasn't saying yes to myself at home, which meant I also wasn't saying yes to myself at work. I was just kind of, following along with, the checklist of what I thought I needed to be successful. And I was actually pretty miserable there too for a while. So, I think sometimes we think that these things are mutually exclusive, but I would just love for you, when you think now about everything that you've been through and now helping women step into their new identities, being a coach for women entrepreneurs and business owners, what have you learned from this experience that's really helping you in your career?
Yeah. So, a couple things. Life is so short.
Mhm.
There is no do over, there's no time to live with regret. And that has given me the confidence as well. Because I just feel like I have this second chance. Like, I have this total redemption, second chance in my life, and I don't want to waste a minute of it. And
Mhm.
so I bring that into my career in several ways. Number one, asking for what I really want. So for me, that looks like offering only the services that I'm so excited about, working only with clients that I love and that I'm excited about, asking for, like charging accordingly, and asking for what I know my services are worth and the value that I bring.
Mhm.
And I just want to point something out. I didn't say what I'm worth because our worth is inherent. Nothing that we do or offer or charge has anything to do with our worth as a human being. So
Mhm.
I want women to hear that. But we do bring a certain value to the table that
Mhm.
we need to, ask accordingly. So if you're in a career, in a company, asking for the salary that you desire, asking for the positions,
Mhm.
for the opportunities that you really, really want,
Mhm.
because there truly there are no do-overs. So what do you want to do with this one life, and how do you want to show up?
So something that you said, I think is really important. And for those who don't have a history of abusive relationships, this might be hard to tease out, but I think this is really important. I don't want to gloss over it. You said, I don't ever want to offer anything I'm not fully excited about. I don't want to go out and do anything I'm not fully excited about. And I think for a long time, and whether you've been in a tough relationship or you've just bought into some really strict patriarchal messages, I think we've been taught not to trust that excitement. Like, oh my God, that would be amazing. It'd be so exciting. Oh, wait a minute. That's not in line. It's not on the checklist. You know what I mean? And I've also learned personally that the more that I follow that giddy feeling, the more money I make, the happier I am, the more fun I have, like all the things. So what's your advice for women to start trusting that? Because I think that that's difficult. And I don't want to overlook the fact that you are trusting that.
Oh, you're so right. It is hard at first. And it's like anything else. The more you practice it, the easier it gets. But it comes back to self-trust and, following just your inner knowing and having faith in that. And so one of the things I do work with my clients on is helping them to create this amazing vision for their life, unfiltered. Because a lot of times we start dreaming and then we're like, oh, that's ridiculous. What will people think? Or like, oh, that's ridiculous. Like, I'll never be able to do that. And then when you filter that dream and that vision that you want, you filter your true self, right? And then you're never going to achieve that because you're not allowing yourself to be fully expressed.
Yeah.
And so once you know, and you can say it unfiltered, which again, coming from the relationship I was in, I was always told that, my head was in the clouds. I was trying to live out a pipe dream. I was made fun of for the things that I really desired and the career that I wanted. And so I had to decide, pretty quickly, like, that is false. Those are not my truth. And this is my truth. So my truth was traveling the world with my business. My truth was having a global brand and working with women who are massively successful and being able to have an impact in people's lives in a very real way. And that is the reality I've created for myself. And I've done that by, number one, having the vision, but also once you have that vision, you need to think about, like, who's the woman that's living that life? So who's the woman that's 10 steps ahead of where I'm at right now? And then you embody her today. So you look at her characteristics and traits. You look at how she shows up in the world in this vision. How does she feel about herself? And then you need to take on those traits and those characteristics daily and show up as her, as if you already have that life. Because you won't have that life until you become that woman. Who's already inside of you. She's already there. We're just peeling back the layers and bringing her to the surface.
And, you're talking about like stepping into a new identity and an identity shift. And it's like, oh, yep, just do that, right? Easier said than done. So this is your zone of genius, right? So when I look at you and know you, and how I know Shannon is, her and I are in a coaching mastermind together. She has like this unique blend of living her life through a lens, capturing people's identities and being a coach, right? So you're talking about stepping into a new identity, but it's not as easy sometimes as we make it sound. So what pieces of advice do you have for women who might be in corporate America, just stuck with the golden handcuffs, right? Earning so much money. I can't leave the benefits. Maybe they're in a relationship. They're just in a place where they know there's something more. But that first few steps is really scary. So what advice would you give her to help her step into that new identity?
So number one, work with a coach.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, a good coach is going to help you see a bigger vision for yourself than what you're able to, because you're in the thick of your own life, right? And sometimes we can't see our own potential and we need someone else to help us realize that. So working with a coach is very powerful. When I started working with coaches, like, my life changed. And that was before I ever left that relationship many, many years ago. And so work with a coach. Also take that vision, that woman, and just write down a couple things. Like, start slowly. What are a few things that you can start with today? And recognize, like, one of the one of the best things you can do is to learn to recognize the negative thoughts that you do have swirling around your head when it comes to creating this life and living out your current life. Start recognizing those thoughts and just simply ask yourself, is this thought taking me closer to my goal or further away from it?
Mm-hmm.
If the thought that you're currently battling is taking you further away from your goal, choose a better thought. Mm-hmm. Again, easy to say, not so easy to do, but it gets easier over time, and it gets to the point where it becomes automatic. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's surface level. Like, this is like, we go really deep into this, of course, but those are like
step one.
That was like the number one practice, I think, that really changed everything for me, was learning that no matter what circumstance I was in, no matter what life currently looked like, how I was feeling and the actions I was taking were completely because of the thoughts I was having about anything. Yeah. And so once you can learn to master that and master your thoughts, everything can change for you.
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree. I had a client even send me an email the other day who literally just had this aha where, she's kind of in a golden handcuff situation. She goes, oh my gosh, I can literally choose to do whatever I want and leave and walk away and create this whole new thing that I want just because I can think about it differently. And I mean, I think when you have that aha moment, I want you to share some words of wisdom, because I've been there, and I know a lot of my clients and women I know have been there. When you start having these new identity thoughts for yourself and you get pretty excited about them, and you're doing your good thought work, thinking things helpful, and you take the vulnerable step of telling someone, because clarity is vulnerable, I think, to be clear about what you want. And maybe you're not met with the type of response you hoped. What advice would you have for her?
Yeah, this is big. This is very common. So
I
always tell people, number one, choose who you share with wisely. It might not be your mom, it might not be your best friend, it might not be anybody in your current inner circle, because they're viewing you through the lens of knowing you already and knowing you through your whole life. Mm-hmm. And so their instinct is actually a good one. Like, they want to protect you, right? So if they feel like you have this grand vision and they're like, how are you going to make that happen? Their instinct is to kind of bring you down a notch so you don't feel disappointed if you fail. Mm-hmm. Right. And their hearts are usually in a good place. Not all the time. Like, sometimes people are just jerks, but surround yourself with people who get it, like other women who are doing the work. Surround yourself with women you can share your wins and your excitement with. You can have an accountability partner for that. Hopefully you're in a relationship where you can bring this stuff to your partner, and just know that if it's new, they may even have their own hesitations around, kind of jumping on board with your new vision. But I think if you approach it from, I know this might seem, different, I know this might seem crazy, but this is what I really want, and I would love your support. Yeah. I think if you can approach it in that manner, you're going to get the support from the right people. But just know it's not usually going to be your family and friends.
Yeah. Absolutely. I even remember when I left corporate America, and my husband, Jason, who's wildly supportive, that's even an identity shift for him too, right? I mean, it's just a change in family, it's a change in structure, it's a change in routine. For us, it was understanding that it's a financial risk. And so it's a change financially. And so when other people are impacted, their responses might not be what you thought. Again, I'm very lucky in that I do have a very supportive spouse. But yeah, and it doesn't mean that anything's wrong with you if people don't respond the way that you hoped, or it doesn't mean that your vision is wrong or that your dream is wrong. And so I would definitely add that. What else do you think, what haven't I asked you, especially when you think about what advice would you give to women to choose themselves, to step out into their new identity? What haven't I asked you yet? What do you want to tell women?
Well, I think, on the flip side of looking at what you really want, another good question to ask yourself is, what happens if I don't do this? Like, where am I going to be in 5 years? And is that okay with me? Is that really what I want? And I had to ask myself that in my own marriage. I will never forget this moment. I was in a women's group, and there was a woman who was probably at least 30 years my senior, had been married for over 25 years. And she had a very similar story, was going through very similar situations. And she kept saying, I just don't know what to do. And that was something I found myself saying daily, I just don't know what to do. And I heard her say that, and it was like a light bulb went off. And I was like, do I want to be her in 30 years still saying, I just don't know what to do? And I was like, hell no,
Yeah.
I don't. It was a really eye-opening moment for me. So think about your future. If you don't change, if you don't go for what you really, really want, is that a future that you're okay with?
Absolutely.
Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but at least you'll know. And that can also kind of add some fuel to the fire of, your desires, and give you that extra push to really go for the scary things.
Absolutely. Well, and you said something that kind of flashed me back. I was sitting in a therapist chair when I was 30, maybe 29 or 30, trying to make a decision on ending my marriage or not. And I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't want to make the wrong decision. I don't want to regret it. I don't know what to do, right? The whole thing. And I want to tie this back into something that you shared in the beginning. When you think about your future and you think about what you long for and what makes you excited, right? Your body just feels excited and fluttery and anticipatory and all those sorts of things. And when the therapist said to me, she said, well, Kelli, she goes, how would you feel if you were sitting in this same chair when you are 40 years old? And like my whole body just sunk, and like I just got sick to my stomach. And so I think what you said without saying today too is, you kind of have to imagine yourself forward in both scenarios. You need to imagine yourself forward, living the life that feels amazing, right? That makes you feel good and feel excited, like you greatly described earlier. And you have to imagine what your life would be like, imagining forward if you didn't do anything, and how does that make you feel? And I always tell women, your body is trustworthy. And I think you've done a great job of that too, by saying, you know what, your body literally is trustworthy. Your heart was giving out because you were in the wrong situation. And so I think that's a message for all of us, that your body can be trusted for sure. So
that, and one other thing you can do that I just thought of that I do often is kind of play the worst case scenario game, because a lot of times the worst case scenario isn't actually that bad. So I will ask myself, if I risk this, if I do this thing and I completely fail, will I be okay? Am I okay with that?
Totally. When I left corporate America, I thought, oh my gosh, okay, what if I go out on my own and I'm a miserable failure and I don't ever make any money and I'm a complete flop? What's the worst thing that will happen? I'm like, I'll get on LinkedIn and find a job. Like
exactly. Yes.
That's about it, right? So I love that. So let's just talk about, confidence, bravery, all the things. What are 3 confidence building tips? 3 of your favorite confidence building tips that you like to do that you would tell women to try?
Yeah. So number 1, connecting to your next level self. So having that vision, showing up as that woman today, acting like, almost sometimes you almost have to like be the actress in your own life. Like, all right, I'm confident today. Like, I'm showing up as this way before like you truly feel it. Sometimes we have to kind of boss our feelings around in that way. So show up in confidence, show up as your next level self. Number 2 would be reflecting on all of the wins and the positive things that you already have experienced in your life. A lot of times we don't give ourselves enough credit, and we're focusing on the negative, which is, our brains are wired to do that. We have a negativity bias, right? So in order to overcome that and to start rewiring for positivity, start like looking at all of your wins and having a gratitude practice. And, for me, something else I like to do, number 3, is I will look back through like client testimonials. I have a spot on my phone, like an album, I call it the smile file. So if ever I'm doubting my ability, or that, nobody's going to want to work with me or do this new thing that I want to put out there, I look back at all the people I've already helped and just read their words of affirmation. So there's a ton of things you can do, but those are just 3, small things that you can start implementing right away.
Yeah. When I was in corporate, I kept like a career journal. I just, in my Evernote, of like, successes I had, or, I tried this project and, I thought it was going to fail, but it didn't. Or I like your smile file, because I have another client who says, she goes, every time I get good feedback via email, I save it in, a folder. So that way, when I'm having a really cruddy day, I'll just go to that folder and just read, when my coworkers have given me feedback. And I think I love what you said about how sometimes we have a negativity bias, and just those little things when we feel like everything is falling apart, we can be reminded, oh no, I'm just having a bad couple hours. Like the world is really not falling apart. So I love it.
Yes.
All right. Where can women find you? And what I want women to know is that you are so unique in what you offer, because you do you do remote photo shoots, correct? It's like, I want you to tell women like exactly what you all do, because it's fascinating. You like travel all over, you do remote photo shoots, you do business coaching, all with a focus on like, bringing out someone's true identity. I love this. Okay. Say more.
Yes. So with my brand photography, I'm working mostly with women entrepreneurs, and I am helping them, very literally embody their next level self and giving them what I call scroll stopping images. So it's beyond a photo shoot. It's about the full experience and fully expressing yourself in the truest way possible to make yourself stand out from the crowd. I actually have worked, and I do have a corporate client right now. This is something really powerful for you corporate women that you can do, is to show up for a photo shoot for your personal brand, for your LinkedIn, for whatever it is. But having a photo shoot and seeing yourself like truly embody this amazing, confident woman that you are, it just changes how you show up in the world. It really
Totally. Like, stop it, rewind, and repeat that again. And I have so many women who have decided, hey, I'm going to choose myself and I'm going to focus on the personal brand I have out on LinkedIn. When people Google my name, right? Even stepping into thought leadership and speaking at conferences. And I think sometimes they overlook just the power of an amazing freaking headshot. Right. And so I think and Chase agrees. It's so important. Oh, I love it. He knows we're telling the truth around here. Shannon, where can they find you? Tell me your social media and your website.
So yeah, you can find me at theshannonclaire.com. I'm on Instagram at theshannonclaire. You can see more at my virtual shoots. I do them remotely through my phone. They are a pivot I had to make in the pandemic because, of course, I could not travel anymore for my clients. And then also my coaching is on all of the channels too. So
awesome.
Shannon Claire.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, Chase, for joining us today. You guys make an incredible team. And I hope you go check out Shannon. And if you're looking to level up your identity and own who you are, you definitely want to check her out. Thank you, Shannon, for joining us today.
Thanks so much. Thoroughly enjoyed the conversation.